Namaste! Welcome to the second video in my three-part video series, Rediscover the Treasure Within through meditation. So thank you so much for watching the last video and for the excellent feedback, comments, questions that you've sent me. It's been really wonderful to hear the response. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you got something out of it. So just to recap the last video, we really had a look at the bigger picture about meditation, the very concrete benefits that it can have in your day-to-day life. We looked at things like how we can really cultivate that sense of peace and bliss, that what we call the treasure within, and how that can affect your life in so many ways. So increasing your focus and your clarity at work, helping to stop worrying, improving your relationships by cultivating that presence with other people. We looked at how it can help you become more conscious of the unconscious habits in your life and how that can help you to make better decisions and to break those habits. And of course, we looked at how developing this state of inner peace can actually help you cope with life's more challenging circumstances. So yeah, I really hope you got a lot out of it, and if you remember, I did give you some homework, so I would love to hear how you went with the homework in the Facebook comments below. If you remember, I talked to you about starting to notice when you're actually not engaged with the present, when your mind's wandered off into the past or the future, or when you're just not really engaged with what you're doing, and to just catch yourself out and to say to yourself, I'm back, when you do notice and you do come back to the present moment. So I'd really love to hear about how you went with that, and any stories or any feedback that you have in regards to the homework. So in this video, this is where the rubber meets the road and we start getting really practical, and I'm going to teach you basically the what, the how-to of meditation with a very simple technique. But first I just want to cover some of the basics. So I'm going to dive straight in here. So when we're meditating, one of the really important things is to have the correct posture. So it is really important to have that nice straight spine. So it's almost like there's an imaginary string going from the pelvis all the way through the spine out the top of the head, and if you find yourself slumping, you just imagine pulling that string up and getting that nice straight spine. So it is actually really important for two reasons. First of all, the breath. It actually really helps you to breathe deeply, and the breath is a really important part of meditation because the breath always, believe it or not, mirrors your mental state. So we want to have that nice, easy, full breath. Secondly, on an energetic level. Now, you may not be into the whole energetic thing. That's cool if you're not, but if you are, I definitely am. It's really important for the energetic flow up and down the spine as well. So it doesn't mean you have to sit on the floor if that's uncomfortable for you. If you can, by all means, sit on the floor, sit on a cushion, or sit on a chair. That's perfectly fine as well. But you just don't want to really be lying down, because especially if you do lie down, you're more likely to doze off or go into that semi-dream-like state because your body's so used to associating that position with sleep. So it is better to sit up nice and straight with a nice straight spine. So where to meditate? Well, you don't need a special room, you don't need to build a teepee out the back, although that could be fun if you want to. All you really need is somewhere quiet where you're not going to be disturbed. So whether that's sitting up in bed, whether that's in a home office, or anywhere really, just anywhere you're not going to be disturbed is perfectly fine. Now, duration of meditation. Of course, any amount of meditation is good, even if it's just 1 minute. 1 minute is better than nothing. But there is a certain time frame that I believe delivers the best benefit, and that time frame is 20 minutes. Now that might sound like an inordinate amount of time to just sit there and do nothing, but I really do mean it when I say it's the best time frame. And the reason why I say that is, I've had students that try to do just 10 minutes at a time, 5 or 10 minutes, but they don't really get the benefit. And the reason is that especially when you start, it takes quite a while to really get the mind to start to settle down. So what I found a lot of students were doing with that, they were just about to get to a point where they were really going to get into it, but they stop it, just before. So for that reason, I really encourage you to start practicing straight away with 20 minutes. And, some days you'll just get into it really quickly. Other days, it might be 15 minutes, or it might be the whole 20 minutes where the mind's quite restless. That's just the way it goes. So in terms of managing your expectations, don't expect that the first time you do it, you're going to find inner peace. I think a friend told me his mum tried meditation once and then said, "Oh no, it doesn't work for me." And he said, you got to try it more than once, because it's not something that just happens overnight. And it's also not a linear thing. It's not like each time you do it, it just gets better and better. It just depends on the day. Even if you've been practicing for several years, some days you just really get into the zone straight away. Other times, it's your mind's kind of all over the place for the whole time. The key is being consistent. Just show up every day. That's the practice, and you'll really reap the benefits that way. Now, there's a little bit of a myth about meditation where people sometimes think it's about making the mind go blank or not thinking, and I can tell you that's a very hard thing to do. In fact, it's almost impossible, because it's the nature of the mind to think. So what I don't want you to do is get into like an internal struggle where you're trying to stop yourself from thinking. Like, that's not fun, it's not productive, it doesn't work. The practice is all about just becoming aware of when you have kind of drifted off with your thoughts and bringing yourself back to the focal point. And I'm going to teach you what the focus is in a minute. So please don't think that you've got to resist your thoughts or try to stop them or get caught up in this inner struggle. It's not about that at all. The practice is noticing the nature of the mind when you are lost in thought, bringing it back to the practice. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the technique. The technique that I want to teach you, that I've really found the best results with for myself and with my students, is called an internal mantra technique. So first of all, let me explain what a mantra is. A mantra is it's a Sanskrit or an Indian term for a type of, it could be a sentence, or it could be a couple of words or some syllables that you just repeat. And it could be repeated mentally, so not verbally. So if it's mentally, that's an internal mantra. That's the technique I'm going to teach you. Or some practitioners like to actually repeat the mantra verbally, and that's going more into a chanting type of meditation, which we're not going to do. So one of the reasons we do mantra, there's a couple of reasons. I'll give you the more esoteric meaning. If you're not into that energy side of it, again, that's okay. But this, it's not up to me to start, filtering the teachings. According to ancient Indian teachings, the reason why we do mantra is the particular syllables or sounds that we use, they have an energetic effect on the body. So sound and even thoughts or words are vibratory. They have a particular vibration. And of course, everything in the universe is a vibration. So the idea is that these mantras actually exert some kind of subtle effect on us on an energetic level. You might have seen that documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know, when that Japanese scientist, he did those experiments with water. He put the words on the water bottles and then quickly froze them to analyze the crystal structure. And it was incredible. Some words made this really beautiful crystalline structure, words like love or thank you, and other words like hate created this very ugly, discordant crystal structure. So the idea is that words, and these were just written words, they obviously weren't spoken words, but they have an effect on us on a vibrationary level. And of course, we are 70% water, so we're having this effect on the crystals in our body as well. So that's the more esoteric meaning. On a very, very practical level, the other reason we do mantra is because when we're meditating, we need to have a focus for the mind. So if we're just focusing on a particular syllable or some words, it's actually getting our mind to focus on just one thing, which is a really important part of meditation, developing that what we call single-pointed focus. So that's the more practical reason we do mantra. So the mantra that I would like you to use is simply 2 words, I am. That's what I would like you to repeat mentally over and over in your mind. And if your mind starts to wander, you just bring it back to that mantra. Now, don't get caught up with the meaning of the words. To be honest, the meaning's really not important. And the idea is not to contemplate the words or think about what they mean. It's not a philosophical thing. It's simply that those particular sounds have a certain vibratory effect that is believed to be very balancing for the nervous system. So don't think you've got to sit there and ponder the words. It's just about repeating them. It doesn't really matter what they mean. So the practice is literally just to focus on those words and keep repeating it. Now, when you do start repeating these words, don't worry about the breath. The breath will find its own way. Just focus on the mantra. You'll find that the breath will change according to your mental state. And it's believed that the breath, there's a bit of a cleansing process that happens with the breath. The breath is working on an energetic level to iron out little, what we call in Sanskrit philosophy, it's called samskaras, which are these little kind of knots of blocked energy that relate to our mental, emotional and physical beings. So the breath will kind of change, and just let the breath do what it wants to do. Don't push and pull on the breath. Don't force the breath to be deep or anything like that. Just let it do its thing. Don't even worry about the breath. Just focus on the mantra. When you're focusing on the mantra, it's kind of a dichotomy. You want to be focused on the mantra, but you don't want to be like rigidly concentrating on the mantra, because that just generates too much stress. But at the same time, you don't want to let the mantra just be kind of really abstract or fuzzy or out there. You want to have that delicate balance between focusing on the mantra, having a certain clarity about it, and not letting it get too fuzzy, but not rigidly concentrating on it as well. You might find that sometimes you can kind of hear the enunciation in your mind very clearly, and sometimes it's not so clear, so don't worry too much. The other thing you want to just be aware of is the pacing of the mantra. So don't feel like you have to keep repeating it at a certain pace. You'll find that as your breath changes, as you go deeper into meditation, you might find that the pacing really slows down, or it might speed up. So it's fine. Just let the mantra take the course that it wants. All you want to do is keep noticing when you're not focusing on the mantra, and whatever's happening, whatever you're experiencing, just come back to the mantra. That's the only thing you have to do. So I told you that it's pretty easy. So you're sitting up nice and straight spine. You're letting the breath do what it wants. You're focusing on 2 words, I am, and you're just repeating them again and again. You're not focusing too rigidly. You're not letting it be too fuzzy. And you're doing it for 20 minutes. And when the mind wanders, you just keep coming back to the mantra. So it's a very, very, very simple process. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to practice this for the next 3 days, once a day for 20 minutes. Commit to that practice. It might be difficult to start with, it might be easy, whatever. Just commit to sitting there for 20 minutes and doing the practice. And what I would love you to do is, in the Facebook comments below, share any feedback. If you've got any questions, if you're running into any trouble, if you've got some stories or experiences you want to share, I would love to connect with you there. I would certainly engage with you. So please, by all means, just engage with me in the Facebook comments below. And in the next video, we're going to take a deeper look at how you can actually implement the formation of this new habit of cultivating a daily practice in your life. There's a few ways to make that easier, to make it stick, and we'll also look at some possible issues you might encounter. We'll troubleshoot some problems, and by all means, if you have anything in the comments, I'm certainly happy to